Public Intel report. This is from today, I believe, just several hours ago. This is amazing breaking news. I actually wrote an article about the disappearance of James Gordon Meek last year. He has been arrested on CP charges, and a couple people, journalists, and reporters have commented on this situation, which I definitely want to share. But I also want to let people know what's going on. Former ABC News producer James Gordon Meek was arrested for transportation of CP, 53 years old. He resigned from his job shortly after federal agents raided his Arlington, Virginia home in April 2022. And there's a media press release that was released on February 1st about this. That was just yesterday. So this happened yesterday. It says, according to court documents, and I might censor some words here depending on what, just because I'm on YouTube. The investigation into James Gordon Meek, 53, of Arlington, was initiated from an investigative lead sent by Dropbox and ultimately received by the FBI Washington Field Office's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force. That lead ultimately led to a court-authorized search of Meeks' residence in April 2022 by members of the task force, where law enforcement seized multiple devices that allegedly contained evidence of the transportation of images um, of CP. According to court documents, several of Meek's devices allegedly contained images, CP images, and multiple chat conversations with users engaged in explicit conversations where the participants expressed enthusiasm for CP. In two of these conversations, a username allegedly associated with Meek received and distributed CP through an internet-based messaging platform. Meek is charged with transportation of CP. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. Assistant Attorney General Kenneth A. Polite Jr., U.S. Attorney Jessica Aber, and Special Agent in charge Wayne Jacobs of the FBI made the announcement yesterday on Wednesday. And this case is brought as part of Project Safe Childhood, a nationwide initiative launched in May 2006. Right, 2006. Um, so this is going to be at least a 10-minute story here. Lot to cover, folks. Very, very interesting. I thought he had been transported to a black site because he just disappeared last year in April of 2022, as I mentioned. And he worked with ABC from 2013 until April 2022. And before I get into more backstory, I actually want to show this video that Ivory Hecker shared of Cheryl Atkinson, who's a journalist who I think I've come across at least once before. And she's a good presenter as well. So let me see if I can share this. And then we're going to get deeper into the back story here because this is really interesting because James Gordon Meek had been writing a book about the Afghanistan withdrawal. And the last tweet he posted before his arrest was in response to something a CIA agent posted, a former CIA agent posted on Twitter. So let's see this. So this is from Ivory Hecker. So just going to read what she wrote today, about 3 hours ago. So the FBI raided this ABC producer after he exposed inconvenient facts about the FBI. Below, one of his tweets shortly before the raid. He's now charged with CP. We should definitely double check whether this is retaliation. James Gordon Meek has a background in counterterrorism and homeland security. He's a star investigative journalist, Green Beret on the U.S. military's Withdrawal when the FBI charged him. Based on James Gordon Meek's resume, we need to double check whether this CP charge is retaliation from the Biden administration. Meek was actively investigating the Biden administration. Former CBS correspondent Cheryl Atkinson has a story of apparent retaliation from her Twitter. And let me play this.
Cases, one of the federal agents involved in one of the operations against me said that they intended to plant child porn in my husband's computer. This is the FBI. There's been a case that's currently in litigation, unrelated, in which the FBI agent has testified that they did that. They have done that. It was not accomplished in my case. I guess the curtain was drawn on that facet of the operation prior to them doing it. But imagine how you ever get out of that. How they knew we had a young daughter at home and has allegedly conspired to do that. Case is one of the fall.
Wow, that's amazing. A testimony there from Cheryl Atkinson. I'm not too familiar with her work, but I know she's pretty widely respected. But let's look at this tweet from James Gordon Meek from April 20th. One of the last tweets he posted before he was raided. He said, a few years ago, Lawrence Wright, who's a staff writer for The New Yorker, Bruce Hoffman, who's a senior fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations. I was surprised to learn that only one FBI agent was still assigned to Austin Tice's case and chasing old dead-end leads. The agent had carried a bureau shield for less time than Austin had been missing in Syria. In response to its tweet by Lawrence Wright, which said, reporters dying and being persecuted in conflicts around the world. Austin Tice is just one of them, but the inaction on his predicament bodes poorly for the others. Oh, shoot. Okay. Deborah and Mark Tice haven't seen their son in more than 9 years. Eagle Scout, Georgetown law student, Marine veteran, journalist, Austin Tice was abducted while reporting on the ongoing conflict in Syria. It's time for the Biden administration to bring Austin home. Help bring attention to Austin's case by wearing a Free Austin Tice bracelet from the Washington Post Press Freedom Partnership. Washington Post. So that's too bad. And that was posted again on April 20th. One of the last tweets that he posted, and I'm going to find it, one of his final tweets, because it's not too far back, if I recall, because he hasn't really tweeted. It's the last thing he tweeted. It was just facts. And it was in response to former CIA agent Mark Polymeropoulos. He said, actually, and it is the conflict between Ukraine and Russia started a long time ago. We learned this between 2014 to 2022, not just now. It was an 8-year lab experiment on Russian TTPs, on EW, on everything. This is why Ukrainians, with our advice and assist, are doing so well. Ask those in IC and UW communities. We learned a lot, a crap ton. And he said facts in response to that. Did James Gordon Meek. And I couldn't tell you what those acronyms mean, to be honest. So I'm sure national security writers and experts would be able to explain those in a second, and I'll see if I can follow that. But the point of this story and report is Meek's arrest, which for this CP, allegedly, and oh gosh, and now people are Indigo presented by what the heck is this? I'm just people are throwing accusations around now because of some people being agents or whatnot. But let me let me go back here to there's Meek's profile there. I'll cut it off at 20 because this is a really interesting story. Um, this is from the Epoch Times. Former ABC News reporter hit with CP. Evidence included an iPhone at Meek's home that showed the phone involved in CP through Kick, a messaging app. Tonya Sturgill Griffith, FBI special agent, said it included approximately 100 images of CP. And I read some of the court document or the documents as well, and it's very graphic. So I'm not going to read it. And I honestly probably wouldn't recommend that you read it either. But if you want to, you can. I would just say you probably know where it's going. I just wanted to share what Hecker stated about that because I was initially very skeptical when I heard this story as well. And especially, given that supplementary information from Cheryl Atkinson, I think it's a great question to ask, and I think I'm glad that that Ivory Hecker brought it up. So, uh, as far as the case, an attorney representing Meek said the court must find by clear and convincing evidence that no conditions other than detention will reasonably assure the safety of any other person and the community. Where there is a presumption in favor of pretrial detention, this is a rebuttable presumption. His attorney, Eugene Gorakov, argued he didn't produce evidence in his client's favor, was laying the groundwork for presenting court evidence that Meek does not pose a danger to the community. A pretrial services bond report was entered but sealed by the court. And people are immediately denouncing him because of this. But one thing I noticed was the verbiage surrounding the when they found um, the iPhone from Twitter. This is an open secret on Twitter. So if people want to check that out, I think I'm following this account, but I won't get into what they allegedly found, but just a description of where they found the electronic correspondence. It says law enforcement, quote, law enforcement seized an iPhone 8 from an entry table by the door to Meek's residence. The device was powered on and password protected at the time it was located and collected. But it's the first sentence. Seized an iPhone 8 from an entry table by the door to Meek's residence, which makes it sound like it's on the outside of his door, which I think is really interesting because who keeps their phone on a table outside their door? I don't think anybody does. So I'm not really sure if there's something deeper going on there. But and I haven't looked at all the documents. I honestly had to stop after I read part of it, or wanted to stop. I don't necessarily have to. Again, it's very graphic, and as far as how other people may react to this, I'm not really sure. But yeah, that's as far as news stuff. The rest of the stuff is really just rumors. So stay frosty, folks. Buy me a coffee if you can, and we'll see where this story goes. More updates to come.